We're looking at 5.7, which is equations and inequalities with rational numbers. Okay, basically we're dealing with fractions and decimals today in equations. And we're going to solve this a little different, in a little different way than what we've done before. What we're going to do is something called clear the fractions, meaning we're going to get rid of the fractions before we start solving. So when you see this, if I can get this thing to right, maybe, you see this clearing the fractions, that means to get rid of the fractions. And it's a very easy way of doing that. What we have to do with fractions is change the denominator to 1, right? Well, the way we do that is we look at the denominators and we find, basically we get a common denominator. So if I'm looking at common denominator for 6, 2, and 4, that's going to be 12. So what I'm going to do is take the common denominator and multiply each term by that common denominator, and something wonderful is going to happen. So cross reduce, this becomes 1, this becomes 2. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10x. Plus, this becomes 1, this becomes 6. 6 times 1 is 6. Equals, this becomes 1, this becomes 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Now we have an equation without fractions, and I can solve it fairly easily. This is negative 10x equals 3, divided by negative 10, divided by negative 10. X equals negative 3/10. And I'm done. So we're doing this today by clearing the fractions. Okay, look at 2, 10, and 5. I want a common denominator. That is 10. I'm going to multiply each term by that common denominator. Okay, 2 into 10 goes 5 times. 5 times 1 is 5. 10 into 10, that's 1. 1 times 7 is 7. 5 into 10, that's 2. 2 times 4 is 8. Okay, I'm going to subtract 7. 5x is equal to 1. Divide by 5. X is equal to 1/5. Works really nice. Look at 8, 3, and 12. What is a common denominator? Well, probably 24. 24 would work. Multiply each term by 24. Even if you don't get the least common denominator, this will still work. It'll be a little more work, but it will still work. 8 into 24, that's 3. 3 times 3 is 9, so that's 9x. Minus 3 into 24 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 12 into 24, well, that's 2. 2 times 7 is 14. I'm going to add 16 to both sides. I get 9x equals 30. Divide by 9. X equals 9 into 30, that's 3 times, with 3 remainder. 3/9 is 1/3. And today only, let's keep that in fraction with a mixed number instead of leaving it in proper. So we're going to change that into a mixed number form. Next one, if we're looking at negative 2/9, 3/4 x, negative 1/6, what we want to do is get a common denominator, 9, 4, and 6. Well, that's going to be 36. Multiplying each number, each term, by 36. When I do that, 9 goes into 36 4 times. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. 4 into 36 goes 9 times 9 times 3 is 27x. 6 into 36 goes 6 times. 6 times 1 is 6. I'm going to add 6 to both sides. Negative 2 equals 27x. Divide by 27. And I'm a little crooked here. That's going to be x is equal to negative, sorry about that, negative 2 over 27. And that is it. So again, we're getting a common denominator. We multiply each term by that common denominator. The bottom terms go away, so I get nothing but whole numbers here. And then I just solve a two-step equation, something you've already done. Let's look at decimals. Okay, decimals. By clearing the decimal, when you see this clearing the decimals, it means the same thing. I just want to get rid of the decimal. So how do I get rid of a decimal? Well, I move it. Okay, I want to move it to the end. How many places do I have to move the decimal in this equation to get rid of it? Well, this one has to go 1, this one has to go 1, so 1. So I'm really multiplying everything by 10, right? The whole thing gets multiplied by 10. That gives me 23x minus 110 equals negative 294. Basically, I just moved the decimal one place in each number. Then I can add 110 to both sides. I get 23x equals negative 184. Divide by 23. I get x equals negative I think that's going to be 8, -8. Okay, same here. I'm going to move this decimal one place. 53x, move this decimal one place. It's 60. Move this decimal one place. -272. Okay, so again, I'm just moving the decimal one place. I'm actually multiplying everything by 10 here because that's all I need to do to get rid of the decimal. I'm going to add 60 to both sides. Add 60. Okay, so I get 53x. Sorry, 53x equals 272. -272 plus 60. So I'm just going to subtract. It'll be 2, 1, 2, and it's going to be negative, right? And I'm going to divide by 53. Divide by 53. X is equal to, I think that will go into it 4 times. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 5 is 20 plus 1 is 21. That is it. And it's negative, so it's a -4. Okay, let's look at this last one. How many places do I have to move the decimal? Well, this one had to move it 2 places, and this one I have to move it 2 places. So to move the decimal 2 places, I have to actually have to multiply everything by 100, right? So when I do that, that becomes -1, 2, 0, moving the decimal 2 places, x plus 125 equals 77. Okay, so now that I've moved the decimal 2 places all the way through, I've got whole numbers. 125, I'm going to subtract, and since I'm subtracting 125, I've got different signs find the difference, so I'm really going to subtract 77 from 125. So I'm going to do that over here. So 15 minus 7 is 8. I get 11 minus 7 is 4. So I get a -48. -120, x equals -48. Divide by -120. Divide by -120. And if I do that over here, I've got two negatives. I'm going to have a positive, but I'm going to reduce this. Well, I know that 12 goes into both of those. That's going to be 4 over 10, but I can still go by 2, and that's going to be 2 over 5. So 2/5 is our answer. But since we started with the decimal answer, let's end with the decimal. 2/5, that's going to be 0.4. Okay, 0.4. Let's look at inequalities. Let's look at this one. Again, I'm going to solve it the same way. Get the common denominator. Here, it's 5, 3, and 7. So it's going to be rather large. These are relatively prime, so I've just got to multiply them all together. I get 35 times 3. That should be 105. Okay, so we're going to multiply each thing by 105. 5 into 105 should be 21. 21 times 4 is, 21 times 4 is 84. 3 into 105 is 35. 35 times 2 is 70. 7 into 105 is 15. 15 times 2 is 30. Okay, then I'm going to subtract 70 from both sides. I'm going to get 14 here, greater than or equal to -30. X, now remember, when we divide by negative and we're doing inequalities, what I have to remember is to flip the sign. Okay, so the sign's going that way now. I got x is greater than or equal to -14 over 30. That reduces to -7 over 15. And that's it. Okay, that's going to be the only one we saw, but let's look at this one. Let's get rid of the fractions here. Let's multiply by 26. That's the LCD. 13 into 26 goes 2 times. 2 times 7 is 14x. Multiply by this by 26. 26 times 1 is 26. Multiply this by 26, I'm going to have greater than 13. Okay, then I would just add 26 to both sides and divide by 14. Okay, we get the picture. This, the LCD is 30, so I'd multiply each thing, each term, by 30. Okay, I don't have to graph these, I just got to get the right answer. And the only thing you need to really remember with this is that when I multiply or divide by negative, the sign changes. It goes the other direction. Let's look at this one. A sign in a clothing store says to take 1/3 off the marked price of a shirt. You have $20 in cash and a $5 gift certificate. What are the original prices of the shirts that you can afford? Well, technically, I'm going to look at this. Remember, we have a total here. And then we have what equals that total over here. Okay? So I'm going to count this as cash. So I'm going to say we actually have $25 cash to spend. But I don't have to spend exactly that. I can spend less than that. So I'm going to have a less than or equal to sign here. What is the original price? Well, the question is the variable. That's X. Well, the original price, and it's 1/3 off the original price. So I'm going to take off or subtract 1/3 of the original price. Well, how do you find 1/3 of something? Well, you multiply it. What's the original price? X. What's 1/3 of the original price? Well, it's 1/3 X. Okay, and quickly we're going to clear the fraction by multiplying by 3. Everything gets multiplied by 3. So that gives me 3 times X is 3X. 3 times 1/3 is 1X is less than 75. Now we can solve this. This is 2X is less than or equal to 75. Divide by 2, divide by 2. X is less than or equal to 37.5. 37.5. And that's it. Actually, 37.5, we're talking about money, so it's $37.50, and we should write it just like that. And that's all for today.